Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 167. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. And this week we have a special guest on, our label mate, Frequency Control Center. We're going to be talking all about his new album, what went into the process, kind of getting into the production aspect of it. A lot has changed, it seems, in the production and the mixing. So we're going to get into all of that. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Curtis. What's going on?
Mate, it's lovely. It's sunny. We're out for summer. It's great.
Yes.
It's fantastic. I've been packing up the rig. This is our last live show before we go off for summer, and that's mainly because of me. Let's face it. On this occasion, so slowly.
You say that like it's a bad thing. Like, oh, it's me. It's not like in the green room I was like, you son of a...
But yeah, slowly just been like taking things down, putting things away, and because you get a lot. I've got 2 cats, right? So things get dusty and quite quickly. So yeah, slowly packing things away, which is nice. It's cathartic because it's like, okay, when I come back, it can be a new chapter, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's gonna be good.
That's exciting. Yeah. Are you excited for your trip?
Hell yeah! I want to get a load of samples for the patrons first and foremost. Nice. But yeah, I haven't been back to NAMM since moving here, so it's going to be a little bit of a trip down memory lane.
4 years, 5 years?
It's 4.5 years. It'll be just shy of 5 years. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a homecoming, and I'm excited for it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah,
it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
How long are you away for?
I'm there for a month, so I fly out first July, and then I fly back 2nd of August. And I've got a flight into Hanoi, I've got a flight out of Saigon, and then basically I've got that month to kind of get down south, essentially. So
awesome. Just slowly maneuver without a plan. That sounds like the Curtis way.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. Good, I'm glad. Just see what happens, right?
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
How about yourself, brother? What are you up to?
Just, man, I don't even know. The days are so busy, I lose track. Yeah, just one thing at a time, man. I can't remember what I did 20 minutes ago, but been working a lot on drums and just improvising on instruments, right? Like I've been setting a little bit of time every day and just turning on the DAW and just recording just whatever. And then those are samples I can use later. They go up to the channel members. That's the new plan. Because I really want to practice more, right? And learn new things. So I'm doing that in those little 5-10 minute intervals. Just work on something new, a new scale, a new idea, something like that. New chord progression with some really weird chords, things like that. Didn't get much time to work on that album this week, but I'm hoping this weekend, once I get a bunch of video editing done, I'll be working on the album. But that thing's coming along. I've got the idea, the album title, and then 4 songs have lyrics. 1 has scratch vocals put in, and then I just need to write probably 2 or 3 more songs.
Good. And I mean, for the next 5 weeks, you've got an extra hour every week now. So that's
extra couple hours, because it's like the prep before, a little bit after, So it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be cool. FCC, the man of the hour.
Hello. Yeah, I've been good, thank you. Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
Yesterday, I suppose. We brought the 1988 Anomaly out into the big wide world for everyone to see. How are you feeling about it now that it's been out for about 24 hours now?
I find it quite hard because there's quite a build up, but my head's been in other places recently, and so suddenly just like, oh man, it's here, and I'm not really that prepared for it, to be honest.
Hey, you did the hard work. You made the music.
Now
that's
it's
true.
Out. That's true. But it always feels really good that it's out there. When you've been working on it for so long, it's all behind closed doors, and then suddenly it's out there and people can listen to it and enjoy it. It's great. I love it.
That's what we need.
Yeah,
I see it.
It's good to have it out. Hold on really quickly, Curtis. I want to say hello to all of our chat. We've got our patron. I always confuse channel member and patron. It's the duality of channels. But we've got I'm just going to move that in a sec because I want to say hello to Thomas, who made it here even before we went live, which is awesome. It's great to see you. Thanks for tuning in. We've also got Cresshead. What is going on? I didn't get to respond yet, but I saw Cresshead was talking about their album work and all that in the Discord, right? Curtis, I know you were talking with him about it. I was like, oh yeah, it's great to talk albums and plans for release types, physicals, all that stuff. Thomas says he's currently mixing tonight. Might as well keep my third ear tuned to some Audionautic. That's great. Third ear, like the third eye, right? You know,
the way to be.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, it's great to see you, Thomas. Great to see you, Cresshead. So FCC, do you want to get started, or is there anything you want to talk about the album before Curtis asks his first question?
No, let's just go for it.
Cool.
All right, Curtis.
Well, we want to kind of take a focus on production and the intricacies of the music itself on this particular occasion, because in 2 weeks' time we have a pre-recorded version. We have a pre-recorded deep dive, which is about 60 minutes long, where we, as the name suggests, we deep dive into the story and the ideas and the processes and the overall journey of the FCC project. So today, we want to keep it simple, want to keep it safe, as to paraphrase Gandalf at least.
I was going to say, man, that's keep it secret, keep it safe. I was like, whoa.
In my head it worked, and I realized after I said it that that's not what he said, but that's okay.
It's close enough that I was like, huh. It made me go, is that right?
I'll get there. Maybe back...
Yeah, get some rest in Vietnam, and then maybe reread it. You know, get reacquainted with it.
You never know. Maybe before the 1988 Anomaly, maybe he did say it, and then the 1988 Anomaly happened, and here we are, and it's a different thing.
Yeah, nice.
There you go. Nice save. Nice. Good job. Yeah, maybe in some alternate universe.
Well recovered.
Show business, baby. FCC. From a production perspective, to what extent is the 1988 Anomaly a continuation of your workflow that we've seen throughout your project to date?
It's definitely a continuation, but in a kind of slightly different vein, I think. I think I've got a bit more confident in what I'm doing and a bit more ruthless in what I'm doing. I think the previous albums and EPs, I mean, maybe not so much Somewhere Boy, because that was a definite, I wanted to do 4 tracks in a certain style. But the other albums were kind of like a collection of tracks that I had at the time. Mm-hmm. Whereas this album, I think I've worked a lot harder at editing the output a little bit more. I had a bigger body of work, and I was a lot more ruthless with what I selected track wise, and also with how I've been making tracks is a lot more ruthless as well.
When you say the way you've been making tracks has been more ruthless, are we talking about different instrumentation, different routings? What do you mean by that?
Well, yeah, probably a little bit of both. So there's quite a few tracks on this album where my process has been a bit different. So slightly more, I guess, I wouldn't call it a live setup, but it's slightly less DAW based and a bit more hardware based. I'm bringing in the 4-track and the reel-to-reel a little bit more. There's a track with a guitar on it, which I haven't done for a very, very long time. The S1 seems to be rearing its head quite a lot in my stuff at the moment, just because it's like,
little synth, isn't it?
You know, I do like a bit of knob twiddling. But I think I think my process has changed a little bit, whereas like on previous albums, when I've been making tracks, I've been a little bit fixated in, right, I've got an idea and it kind of half works, and I need to make a track out of it, because at some point it's going to go on an album. Whereas recently, and with this album, I've been a lot more organic with it, and a lot more. I wasn't so worried about creating a whole track. I was just, going with the flow a bit more, and sticking with the bits that really grab me, and to the point where there's a track on the album that's only like 2 or 3 minutes long, and it was part of a like 6-7 minute long song. But when I kept listening back to it, the only bit I really wanted to listen to in the end was the last 2 or 3 minutes. And so I completely scrapped everything else and just used the bit that I wanted to hear. And that kind of put me on a bit of a slightly different journey, where I was editing really quite harshly, and anything that didn't really work for me, I was just getting rid of, and putting in, not in the bin, but putting in that folder that you might go back to another day. Save for later. And I think the whole album for me is definitely better for it.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that's a really good way to go when it comes to making music. Like, instead of hyper fixating on, I need to fix this, I need to finish it, you go, wait a second, I'm just going to take the part I like, right? And just chop it. And I get what you're saying. I was going to ask you to give more on the term ruthless, but it makes sense now that you're just ruthlessly cutting things away that you don't like. I do have one question. I know we didn't talk about it beforehand, but I'm just curious. I know you had mentioned chopping or using drum loops a lot in the past, and you wanted to work more with chopping drums or make programming your own drums and things like that. And I know with Somewhere Boy, you took a bit of a detour without drums, so you got a nice break, a reprieve from the drums. And I'm curious, coming back, did you, as part of this whole new workflow and ruthlessly cutting and all that type of stuff, did you also incorporate more different drum techniques and things like that?
Actually, I got really into programming from scratch on a lot of the tracks. But there is one track where I just used drum loops, but I was like cutting and cutting and cutting, and there's like, I think on that track I had about 15 tracks of cut up drum loops.
Yeah, just like chopped all over the place.
Yeah, chopped all over the place, all coming in and out.
I asked partly, sorry to cut you off, Paul, but when I was listening to it, when I was mastering it, I was like, I can definitely tell these drums are a lot more, like, I don't think these are just loops. There's a lot more complexity. There's nothing wrong with using loops, obviously, and they can be really helpful. But I was just like, this doesn't sound like, like even chopped loops. This sounds more like you're adding variation and stuff like that. And I was like, I really want to ask him that, because I think he did what he said he was planning to do, which you had talked, I think, in the last artist interview we were doing. You were like, yeah, I want to chop more drums, do more programming and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of took a similar approach. So where I've been kind of loop based quite a lot previously, because I do like a hip hop beat. And it's very easy to just grab a hip hop loop and have that, kind of rolling all the way through a track. But I wanted to do a bit more, and so I took a similar approach to cutting up loops on lots of separate tracks, where I would program drums on lots of separate tracks and just have them interacting in different ways.
Does that make the process of producing the drums itself, does that mean it's that particular piece has been more intricate and more clinical?
In a way, yeah. I mean, I try and, I mean, you could spend hours, on the perfect snare drum in the perfect place. We all do it. But I try and keep things really organic and really fluid. So, I mean, for me, I'm quite haphazard the way I throw things together. I'm kind of, I really enjoy a happy accident. So I'm kind of throwing stuff around all over the shop, adding in, like arpeggios to drums and, doing all kinds of stuff, and then grabbing the bits that work and getting rid of the bits that don't. And I like keeping it fairly fluid. If I'm sat there for 3 hours, intricately placing drums, then it just loses the whole feel of creating that track for me.
Okay, makes a lot of sense in that regard. Sunwarper, what's your first official question in that sense?
Yeah, so sorry I went off a little bit. I think this I reminded me as you were talking. I was like, oh yeah, I made a note of that like a year ago. I was like, I really want to ask him that. As I was listening in the master, I was like, oh okay. So my first question, I think it's going to tie into what someone in the chat is asking. So let me read it, and then I'll bring up the chat, and we'll try to get some more context. So, is there anything particular about this release that has brought joy for you to practice? And then on top of that, in terms of like specific tracks, I don't know where they're going with it, but Cress had put Days Lose Resonance, the track title. So if there's something you want to expand on that, or if you're asking about the title, whatever it is, Cress had let us know. But
I think
maybe you can use that song as an example or something.
Yeah, I think Cresshead was maybe talking about the track that was just like the last 2 or 3 minutes of a longer track.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. I think it's that one. I can never remember, to be honest.
Well, but maybe, I mean, with that track, that might answer some of the question. Was there something that brought you joy? Being ruthless.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, it did. It's I think the joy in having that confidence to just go with your kind of gut feeling. I mean, I'm part of my process is when I'm working on a track, I'll get it to a certain point where it's listenable, and I'll go to sleep with my headphones in, and I'll just put it on repeat, and eventually I'll drift off to sleep, and my subliminal brain is, working on things, and I'll wake up in the morning and I'll go, right, okay, so that needs to come down, when I need to change that and do that. I tend to do that for quite a while, and if a track stays with me and I still enjoy listening to it, then I kind of think, okay, that's hitting a kind of sweet spot for me. And there are tracks where I'll do that, and after a few days I'll go, nah, it's just not right, it's just not working. And so those are the ones that go in that folder for another day. And I think just I've found a joy in kind of knowing what I think is right and what's not, and it's purely for me. I make music that I enjoy listening to, and other people like it, and I love the fact that other people like it. The other thing I really enjoyed with this album is doing a slightly more live kind of production, because I got a last year I got a bass guitar, and I've always played guitar and bass, and I got a few more bits of hardware like the S1, and I got a 4-track, and so all of these things have come into being able to play a bit more live, and I really enjoy, to be honest, out of all of it, what I really love is playing bass.
Yeah, I get that.
I love it.
I get it. There's something about stringed instruments, right? That just like it's so expressive. I don't know, the way you can
Yeah.
just slide between things, bend, move, and make these really trippy chords. It's just there's just something about it.
I mean, my kind of if I'm not really doing FCC stuff, if I've not really got a lot of time to get my head into that kind of FCC groove, I'll stick either a drum and bass loop on or a funk and soul loop on, and I'll just get the bass guitar down, and I'm happy as Larry jumping about in the studio for an hour, sore fingers, but it's great, and I love that. I love that about music, that you don't have to just plow on doing your thing. You can do a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of that, and it all feeds back into what you do anyway.
Totally.
It's a wonderful thing about being in the time of history where we are now, right? Because you have the DAW at your fingertips, and whatever you use, the DAW is amazing, and your only limit is your imagination, right? But it's somewhat distinct from production. Is somewhat distinct from like playing live and playing in a band, and you start in bands, and you start in a garage band or a wedding band or whatever, and then you find electronic music, and you've got these two avenues of music creation. And I feel like we're not alone in this, but a lot of us are converging and trying to come way to kind of link them back together in a sense, to kind of find that fusion between the love for the being in the moment and the dancing around and the playing live, and then having the stuff that's usually made electronically come together.
Yeah, I think, and I've kind of grown up in my musical career being in bands, so I've always played like guitar and bass, and it's only when I got back into making electronic music that I was totally computer based. Literally had the computer and a tiny little MIDI keyboard, and that was it when I first started. So it's really nice to come full circle and get these live kind of organic instruments back into my music again.
In that sense, before we move across, because I've got a burning question. If I hear you when you say you've got these new pieces of hardware coming in, what's missing from your setup to make it? Is there anything missing?
He's asking, are you going to get Ableton?
No, never, don't.
Thinly veiled.
No.
He's like, you got to get Ableton.
No.
I just want to see how. I'm not necessarily.
Are you still rocking Reason?
Yeah, still rocking Reason. I'm just going to do this look so you can. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
There it is.
Fantastic.
So have you been working more with audio in Reason and MIDI, or are you doing one more than the other?
I kind of both, really. I've been getting Reason to power the S1.
That's what I was. The other thing I was going to ask was, are you MIDI sequencing the S1? Because if you're playing on, I play on those little keys in videos, and I'm like, I hate my life.
Yeah. I mean, I have linked the S1 up to a bigger keyboard, which is quite interesting.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But actually, it is quite interesting to just MIDI it up to Reason and run.
MIDI up. I love that phrase.
MIDI up. But you can run, like you can have like pattern sequences and arpeggios and all sorts powering it, and then you've got the you can just twiddle and pick the S1 up and rock it from side to side, and do all that malarkey. It's I quite like that about it. It's quite even though it's
it has that
little synth. Yeah. So you can tilt forward and backwards and side to side, and it'll change the sound, and you can program obviously what you want it to do. So
yeah, I gotta check that out. I always forget it has that. Isn't that
yeah.
Was it the D-Motion or something from one of the older
D-Motion
that they yeah.
I
gotta try. Have you ever tried that, Curtis? The motion. Did you know it did that?
On the S1, I know it's there. I've never
I've always because I remember you were doing something really trippy with the S1. There was when we talked about it, there was something you do like a noise riser separate. I forget, but
you can
the
change
riser.
the riser. You can make a noise riser out of it.
Yeah. I gotta look into that one again too. I haven't used the S1 in a little bit.
Seems like everyone's
That's great for drum and bass. The riser.
Yes, yeah.
And stick an arpeggio on and the riser with a drum and bass beat and the bass guitar. Happy place.
You're done.
Yeah.
Well, in the name of being happy as Larry, is there anything in particular upon listening that you would like the listener to take away from listening to the album?
Well, that's a good question. I got to say no, not really. But I just want people to enjoy it, get a little bit of joy and hopefulness from it, and kind of make their own story up for it. I mean, I know like the 1988 Anomaly is quite a box of a story to kind of put all that music in. But it's still, when you listen to it, you've got to take it on your own journey and make your own story up, really.
Yeah, that's very fair. Very fair indeed. Sunwarper's chomping at the bit for a question, but I want to come back to the notion of the 1988.
No, I can wait. It's all good.
Fair enough. For those who don't know, it's a really fascinating story. Could you just give us a little overview of what the 1988 Anomaly is?
Okay. So it's a kind of internet conspiracy theory type thing. Foil hat on. It's so there's a couple of different versions of it, but the gist of it is basically the reason that the 1980s are so ingrained in our psyche is because in 1988 there was a world universe timeline changing event, a big reset that happened for whatever reason. I mean, if you look it up, there are, they do give the reasons of what happened, and a lot happened in the 80s, I guess. But anyway, so this thing happened. There was a big reset, and for some reason we're on a different timeline, but no one can actually forget about the timeline that came before in the 80s. But it's it's one of those things that you come across on the internet, and the more you start reading about it, the more crazy it gets.
I love that, and because with it in that sense, it's because so alternate histories, conspiracy theories always have different ideas, different threads, different reasons, different motives, etc., which plays into this album quite nicely. Because as you're saying, everyone you want the listener to make their own story and conjure their own feelings and emotions as a result of it. In that same way, the 1988 Anomaly is everything, but also it's completely different for everyone else around you, which is wonderful.
Yeah. I guess a lot of it comes back to. I mean, I'm a proper 80s child. I went through my teens in the 80s, and so it's probably it's quite a large portion of my memory when I think back to when I was a kid was the 1980s. But also I think with my music, I kind of, the way I treat my music is a little bit how I kind of think visually, because I'm a designer. My day job is design, and I kind of think about my music like a bit like a Polaroid photo, and probably lots of people don't even know what Polaroid photos are these days. I mean, my teenage boy, no idea what a Polaroid photo is.
Wow.
But that sense of something you know, something old that's degraded, faded, you know, that kind of feeling of nostalgia, but in a kind of grainy, fuzzy kind of way, is where most of my music comes from. But also, you know, visually, I kind of like that as well. And so the 1988 Anomaly just kind of wrapped all of that up quite nicely.
Very much so. Yeah. I do think, yeah, in that sense, it's an incredibly good way to package up and put a bow on the collection of Sonics.
Sorry, I was just reading the chat. I was like, Thomas, but the 1988 Anomaly refers to an unusual and unexplained spike in global mean surface temperature.
There
It
could
is also a conspiracy theory. So.
Yeah. Well, with that, let's move over. We've got some chat questions. I was gonna get there, so I'm glad we brought it over there. So Chris had asked, and I think this can be a quick answer, but question: what 4-track? I used to have Tascam 244. Later, also had the Yamaha MT1X. I have some.
Yeah, it is a Yamaha. Shall I grab it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
While you do that, I'll read some of the other chat. So Cressa also added, I noodle on bass when heating up food. You can get some great accidental riff up and running when you're just playing around. Definitely. I was just jamming on the guitar yesterday and got all this like crazy, and I didn't record it, of course. I did the Curtis and was like, it's going to be forgotten now. Just let it be. It was in that moment. I exercised my my impermanence and was like, I'm just going to let it go. Oh, there we go. Let me full screen your...
So it is I thought it was an MTX, but it's not. It's an MT100.
Oh, your beard. I was like, what's a Ahame? Here we go.
Yeah,
like, is that like a bootleg Yamaha?
MT100.
There we go. All right. Also in the chat, we've got, I know I shared when you both popped on, but also just want to say formally hello. Field Tone Audio, hello, what's going on? And where is it? Also, one of our patrons, I keep wanting to say channel member. It's like the two different YouTubes we run. My brain's like channel members, but we don't have channel members yet on this channel. That's why we need to get some more watch hours. So that, but we're getting there. We're on the way. But Survey Channel says hello.
I've got to say, while you've got that up on the screen, I've got to say a massive thumbs up to Survey Channel, because we were talking earlier about drum programming, and it was listening to Survey Channel's music that made me want to properly get into drum programming.
Yeah, I remember the
his beats are just fantastic.
There was a single he put out, I think, before the second album, and the drums were so sick. I was messaging him like, "How'd you do it?" And then that's why when I did that Dave Van Cowboy cover, I was like, "I need Survey Channel on the drums for that one." So yeah, I get what you mean. Very inspiring. We've also got Marine's Friend says, "Yo, caught the bit about the subconscious track on loop while I think that." While sleeping, arrangement method. That's amazing. Yeah, I know you've talked about that before. Is there anything you want to add to that? I think you've explained it quite well, but is there anything more to that? Like maybe the genesis of that idea, that notion?
Well, I sometimes have trouble sleeping, so I've always kind of gone to sleep with something in my ear. You know, whether it's like a podcast, a really boring podcast, or some just like really nice ambient music. And so it was just a bit of an extension of that, really, you know, just to have what I'm working on sat there as I go to sleep. I mean, to be honest, I don't do it when I'm working on a drum and bass track, because it's just like,
you won't sleep. You'll just be like,
yeah, it's like, oh, this is a banger, put it on again, and then I'm awake for an hour.
You'll get a strobe light or something going, and your wife will be like, "Can you stop?"
yeah. But it does. It's just something that really works for me. And it's funny because I kind of mention it to people, and lots of people have gone, "Oh yeah, I do that."
Interesting, yeah. I used to sleep to music, but then as I got more into music theory, I was analyzing it and then couldn't sleep because I'd be like, what are they doing? Oh, are they doing a 1 to the 4 to the? Yeah. And then I was like, this ain't gonna work. So I had to stop.
To be honest, I do find that. So like the first 1 or 2 plays, I'm definitely thinking, right, all right, change that in the mix, rearrange that. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. And then as you kind of drift off to sleep, you just get to the point where you're soaking it up, rather than analyzing it. And it's then those bits that when you wake up in the morning, you kind of go, okay, so my logical brain was analyzing it and wanting to do that, but my subconscious brain was thinking about it in a completely different way.
I love that. No, that's awesome.
Beautiful.
I will have to give it a shot. We'll see if I sleep, but I'm asleep.
Don't let it interrupt your sleep, because you don't get a lot anyway.
Okay, well, a little bit more on the chat end. We already read Thomas's bit about the anomaly. Field Tone Audio says, fortunately, Polaroids are huge again. Don't tell your son, FCC. It sounds like he missed the memo.
Yeah.
Thomas also says, regarding your 4-track, I saw one of those secondhand a few days back. Crescent says, nice Porta Studio. I think one of the old Godflesh albums was made on a Porta Studio. Anyways,
cool.
Sorry, that's my brain just going.
Lots of bouncing down.
Probably that's why it's gritty, right? Lars says, "Ooh, 4-track."
Nice.
I knew you'd get Lars.
Like it.
You just need the laser disc, and he'll be like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Let's see. Also says, "Let your subconscious take over and vibe." And Maureen's friend says, "Gonna give it a shot." Yeah, nice. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul, is there anything we didn't ask that you want to cover? I know I wasn't there, unfortunately, because life got in the way. So I don't know exactly what you covered in the deep dive that we're doing. But is there anything between that one and this one that you feel like we should, you want to discuss or you want to mention?
Not really. I mean, we did go deep when I talked to Curtis. I don't know. I guess probably the thing that has really stuck with me over this last kind of 18 months is probably my confidence. Just knowing the sound you're trying to create and having the confidence to edit harshly, pick and choose. I think because my time has changed. We've all got families and work commitments and everything else. And back when I did a lot of this album, I had quite a lot of time, and I was on a good vein of creativity. Whereas now my vein of creativity has dried up a little bit compared to what it was 18 months ago. But also, life and work and everything else has kind of got in the way. So those moments that you do get in the studio, they're precious, really precious. And so having that confidence to, not beat yourself up and kind of move quickly and edit quickly and know what not to keep kind of bashing on with that doesn't work. I think it's really important.
Yeah, it's a really good mentality to have, and just also having that confidence to do it, and realize like I can do this. I don't need to sit with these things. Like, what's that? Oh, we talked about it before. That one phrase, I'm not going to remember it, but I'll look it up and put it in the Discord. I forget. There's that one phrase about like I can't remember. Anyways, that's the note for you. We've got a bit more chat. I know I shared some Lars already, but he is one of our patrons, so I want to say especially welcome to all of our patrons. Yeah. We'll get to a couple more. But Lars says, unironically, yes to the Laserdisc. Go figure, right? Thomas says mini disc might get a comeback, maybe in some other dimension if we pass through the portal anomaly. There we go. Okay. Getting back into the themes of the album. We've also got another patron. Yeah. David, Ace of Stripe, says, congrats, FCC, on the release.
Oh, thank you, David.
Survey Channel says, love all the themes and approaches with this album. Nicely done, FCC. Let's see. What else do we have?
From the master.
Right.
Well, thanks. No, it was the music. I just did the last little 5%. Survey Channel says, yes, the album cover and theme is lovely. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Lars says, there's a few artists putting release on mini disc.
Of course
releases on mini disc. It's neat, but I never owned a player for it. That's the surprise. The most surprising thing I've heard today is that Lars doesn't own a mini disc player.
That's the anomaly, right?
That's it. We've crossed the portal anomaly, I guess, because we're out of the universe where he has every format of dead media. Let's see what else we've got. I'll get to Crescent in a second because it's a question for you. Thomas says, wow, I think I have a mini disc player somewhere. So that's crazy when someone else has this old form of media and Lars doesn't. Yeah, we're definitely moving into another dimension. All right.
The Lars Anomaly. That's what I should have called the album.
Yep, that's your follow-up. The follow-up EP with some remixes and stuff as well, the Lars Anomaly. We got a question from Cresshead. How do you approach track listening or track listing? I think it's
how do you approach track listing? Do you stick on your phone and try the lists out over time? So how do you stagger it?
That's a really good question for me, actually, because when I'm making the tracks, I'm not thinking about what they're called or the order of them or anything. So all of that comes later on when I'm wrapping it up in a package of an album. And so it's why I can't ever remember the names of my tracks, because they literally, I put them in an order. So they definitely go in an order when I'm listening to them. And there are definitely tracks. So like the last track on the album, when I made that track, it instantly sounded like the last track on an album. So I knew that, that was the only one that I knew the position it would be. All of the other tracks, I literally had to kind of sit and just listen through and move them about to create. I guess you want to create a bit of a journey and a bit of a story, but you don't want lots of the same track together. You want to mix it up a little bit, and so you're just like curating, really. For me, everybody's probably got their own way of doing it, but I'm trying to curate a bit of a story and make it interesting, and there might be tracks that I know fit in certain places, but yeah, it's kind of a bit like my music. It's a bit random and a bit organic.
Here's a question for you. Do you have the title and track names and idea before you make the album, or is it kind of at the end, or is it during where you're like, oh?
No, it's always been at the end.
Okay.
So although somewhere, boy, I had the idea before I made those tracks, so I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to try and work in a different way, but again with this album, it's like, but the way I make music is so organic. I get into a sound or a rhythm or something and just kind of go with the flow. And so there's never a kind of preconceived idea that I'm working towards. It's just whatever comes out. And so that means when I get to the end of that process, I've just got a load of tracks that are named by the date. And I've got to wrap them all up into this package with artwork and track names and an album name and everything. And all of that comes, it's like the last bit of the process.
Interesting. Okay. That's good to know. I was wondering that because, there is such a story to it. I was curious. We've got a bit more chat to run through. So Field Tone Audio says, mini disc players are really cool because you can edit the audio files on the device itself, then shuffle the playback order. Awesome for makeshift glitch granular, all in one box.
Ooh,
so now I'm going to echo
good.
the sentiment that Lars then posted. Y'all are going to make me spend a lot more money on eBay than I want to. No, that actually sounds pretty cool. Let's see where else. David says, I have a mini disc, but no player. And let's see, anything else. Yeah. Thomas says, I really like how mini discs look. They look I don't even know if I know what it looks like. I'll have to look. I just the premise of you can make glitch and granular sold.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Aren't they just like a CD in a little box?
I don't know, Curtis, can you Google search one and share it?
Yeah. You bring up that.
Yeah, I'll keep going with the chat while you do that. So Field Tone says, Thomas, some of the later Sony models are so futuristic and aesthetically pleasing. Oh, because Thomas says, I really like how mini discs look. They look amazing. I might have shared that one already. Sorry, I'm running through all these chats. Here comes Lars. They were the true pinnacle of physical media, but then the MP3 player took over. Our resident physical dead media historian Lars here is schooling us up on this. Okay,
so this is what this is. A little mini disc, a little mini disc.
Yeah, it's a little CD in a box, basically.
You remember the
basically
PlayStation Portable?
It's a PSP thing.
I know that was a proprietary format, but it seems very similar to that. Interesting though that you can go in and like chop things and stuff.
Mate, I want to get a mini disc.
Yeah, we'll talk. Let's talk after. We'll see what we can do. Let's see. Back to where is it? Chris said, I usually have Project 9, 4, or whatever. They get a name once I have lyrics. Really interesting.
Sense,
okay. I'm kind of in a similar vein because what I've really started to do. I think I got it partially from Eon Lake and then from I think Sonic State. But the last year or two, because I'm the worst at naming my files, and then when I go to look back, I lose them, or I don't have the track name. It'll just be like really cool modal vibe, and that turned into whatever song. And I can't find it when I want to do mixes or something. So now what I do is I do the date, I do the key, BPM. If it's modal, like if I'm borrowed chords, I'll put like borrowed chords just so I know if I'm trying to play to it later. And then if or when I get a track title, I'll make a new file with that at the start so that I can go back to it and be like, yep, that's it. Because like when I'm writing lyrics, I get the title right. Or if later when I'm doing it, just so I can catalog it and have it for later if I want to do remixes, remasters, or live performances where I need backing tracks, like I have it there. But yeah, that's that. I hear that. Let's see what else. We're wrapping up on time, so I don't know if we'll be able to ask, and I'm assuming you might cover this in the deep dive about the artwork. Is that in the deep dive?
We didn't do that one specifically. No.
Okay, well maybe Paul, if you don't mind giving a bit of that in the Discord, because we only got a couple minutes left. If you care, because I know you do a lot with the artwork and your photos and all that. So if you'd be willing to share in the Discord, we'd love to have that there. Yeah. Before I continue with the chat, and while Curtis is working on his luscious locks, Curtis, can you tell us a little bit about who has brought the show to us today?
That would be our patrons, who many of whom are in the chat. And if we're talking about confidence and appreciation, you give us the confidence, and we really appreciate the support that you give us every week to do this. FCC's release has been made possible because of your guys' support and the fact that you guys help us financially every month is amazing. And it's because of that we're able to sit down week in and week out and have all these, not just the talks that we have on air, but the back office meetings and all the extra time that we do. So thank you from the bottom of our heart. We really appreciate it. And we love the fact that we can do this. This album is a beautiful album. It's a fantastic follow-up. And it's great to be able to put it here. If you are listening and you like what you do, or like you like what we're doing, there you go. There is the like button, as Chris says. There is that follow button as well. That's a really good one.
Sorry, I had to do it.
That's cool. No? We're still trying to get to 1,000 followers. and then we can do even more. It's a bit of an exponential curve when you can do this thing. The best thing to do if you really want to support us, sorry Paul, but for now, if you want to support us,
no, that kind of helps.
That's fine, yeah.
Beast front and center. That's not good.
Okay. If you want to support us on Patreon, head across.
He's doing the Eon like there it is.
There you go.
You gotta get your hands and go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Look, it made it shine.
It's as little as $2 a month, and for that, there is a lot of extras. We have our hangout every month. We do extra sample packs. I admittedly didn't do it for this album, but usually there's early access to all the albums that we put out.
Good on you, Thomas.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
It's a great place to be. So yeah, come down, become a Patreon. It's a great place, and there's this extra server within the Audionautic Discord, which is also a great place to be.
Yeah, as well as our monthly hangouts. We just had our Starstream hangout because you had to have it on the 22nd.
Yeah.
So we did that. Yeah, look how happy. I mean, I was like, yeah, if it's gonna make him that happy, all right, whatever, sure. But yeah, we have a monthly hangout. It's awesome. We were talking workflows, all kinds of stuff. I know Move got mentioned there, of course. Ableton Move always gets mentioned.
Yeah. But one of the fascinating things is Mike K. Smith gave us a little teaser to his book that he's writing, which is
that's right. He posted it in the Patreon channel,
exactly.
PDF of it, and really interesting.
It's really interesting in that sense.
Yeah, I need to look at that.
It's
definitely.
It's really for Ableton users. So I mean,
now I just want to test this out while we're wrapping things up. Oh, it won't let us. I was gonna try and change the orientation to vertical to see if it would do. Because we have the option before we go live, we can set it vertical but I guess that's just if you want to do a vertical live stream or a horizontal live stream. Because the verticals get a ton of views like while it's live because it's in the shorts feed, but then it doesn't do anything afterwards. Some people I see do both at the same time, but anyways, I was just curious to see what we could do. We can do this though.
That's nice.
Which is that's cool, and then. That's kind of cool.
We're still working this stuff out.
Maybe like if you're talking, I can if someone's talking, we can do that. That's kind of cool. And real quickly, Thomas previously said, I'm buying the album straight away. He has already done it. I mean, that man is a machine.
Wow.
Done. Downloading the album now. Awesome. Yeah, it's a really good listen. It's a really great album. Awesome story. And I know you were asking about artwork. I think I mentioned to a degree Stillhead Thomas, but FCC does the artwork for all of his stuff. Incredible work. But yeah, FCC, if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about it in the Discord, there it is right there.
Beautiful.
I can do very quickly now if you want.
Yeah, we got like 1 or 2 minutes. So
1 or 2 minutes.
If that gets you time.
So it's basically about wrapping it up into. There's a bit of marketing and a bit of PR involved in wrapping it up in something visually that represents the music. And mostly all my covers are all my own photos. And I've many moons ago got a photography degree, so there's it's quite nice to use some old photos and things. But it's that. I'm when I'm looking at music on whatever platform, I'm kind of get drawn in by the artwork. So I'm kind of creating artwork that I hope people that are looking for a similar type of music are going to get drawn into, basically.
I love that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece of art, and the consistency throughout your artwork really helps to hammer home the project as a whole, right? If the music is a continuation and is an evolution, the artwork definitely complements that in that sense as well.
Yeah, it's just that wrapping everything up at the end. It's all part of the same process, really.
Very much so. Yeah. Well, thank you, FCC. It's been wonderful to have you on the show. It's been wonderful to hear where you're at. There's more to come. If you guys are listening back or you're listening live and you want to know more, we do in 2 weeks' time when everything goes out on streamers. We do have a bit of a deep dive going where we kind of go into these topics for a full 60 minutes. I think it's 75 minutes actually. And yeah, so there's a lot more to come. So yeah, but once again,
before we go, let's give a little detail about what's going on
Oh yeah.
State of audionautics, shall we say? Because we got like a couple minutes. So we're taking a month. Is it a month long or 5 week long?
It's 5 weeks. Yeah.
5 week long pseudo break. We won't be live streaming, but we've batch recorded and filmed a couple interviews, one being with FCC. So we will have videos coming out every week at the same time, 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm not even going to try the internationals after that last nightmare we had on Sunday, where the times, what is it, 6 p.m.
It's now 6 p.m. UTC. Yeah.
Okay, 6 p.m. UTC, but 11 a.m. Pacific. So videos will be coming out, and if you, I know we won't have the chat, but we will be on Discord, and of course we'll be in the comments. So if you want to leave comments, that especially really helps. This also is a good experiment to see, because we've been doing just live streams for the last year or two, and I found analytics wise, live streams, YouTube has done less favor for them, like much less. So it'll be an interesting experiment to see how the videos do. So if you do want to help both with this live stream or those videos, leave a like, leave a comment. It helps a ton. But yeah, we will still be here with you all, just not live per se. But we've got, what is it, 3 round robins?
It's 3, yeah. So it's 3 round robins, about between 20 and 35 minutes each, interspersed, and then we've got an interview with FCC, as we said before, and we've got an interview with Sketch Audio.
Yeah, we're gonna. I spoke with Ryan from Sketch Audio yesterday about a couple of new functions they added, and then kind of what's coming next, and just another talk about the other end of it, the other angle, like being a plugin developer versus us musicians who use the plugins, right? Like it's very different to hear from that end, the coding perspective, the programming perspective, and all that stuff. And we discuss all of that. So it's a really good talk, and I'm sure the one with FCC is amazing, because as you saw from today, he's got a lot of awesome information, and it's just really good to hear from him and all of these ideas and stuff. And yeah, so that's coming. All of that is coming. So I know we won't be able to be live. We will miss you. I know Thomas says miss you already. We appreciate that. But we will still be here. We'd love it if you still check out those pre-recordings, because that does help the channel. And then when is our first live stream back? Is that August?
Be August, Wednesday, 6th of August.
There we go.
That's when our first live back. And we'll still be out. We're not going away.
We're dropping in. We'll be in Discord. We'll be in the comments of the videos. Yeah. You know, we'll be around. We'll be here.
It's just, all this came about. Essentially, one day I declared that I'm going to Vietnam for 5 weeks. So that's what's happening. But it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. We'll be active. We'll be present. Be checking in with the community. Can't stay away. And I want to find a load of samples and just drop them into the Discord. So if you want to remain present and active, head across to the Discord.
Let me go. Wait. Keep talking.
You go down to the Discord. There's a great place to be. There we go. Just pop over there. There we go. Just come and say hi. It's a great place to be. It's where all the first stuff comes down.
Oh, here we go. Classic. That's it.
Nice.
That's what we need.
Nice.
That's it.
Better.
So there's for those listening on Apple and Spotify and podcast platforms, I posted it, or we've been putting up QR codes, but all of those links will be in the show notes. So you can check it out there. And then lastly, I do want to mention too, if you just don't want to do a monthly subscription, so to speak, or anything like that, but want to help support the channel and what we do, you can do a one-time donation through this QR code, which I don't know why it doesn't have a photo, but anyways, it's that QR code. Anyways, Curtis, before we go, is there anything else you want to add? This is the last live stream for 5 weeks, so
it's gonna
speak
be
now.
It's gonna be a weird 5 weeks in that sense. Gonna miss it very much. It's gonna be a good break, but I'm looking forward to collecting samples, coming back, and you know we've got a good Q3 and Q4 kind of planned out, haven't we? So it's gonna be a lot of fun as we get towards the winter break.
Yeah, definitely. And FCC, anything you want to add?
No, just enjoy your break.
Well, thank you. Yes, we're
I
looking.
I think you've earned it.
I also appreciate how you said no and then carried on with something. Makes me feel less alone.
Maybe that's the UK special. You know, you have to be polite and say no, and then start up with it.
Yeah, that is. It's cool. It's gonna be fun. So thank
you.
All
right, with that, I want to just once again thank FCC for coming on, for being a part of the Audionautic Records label. and trusting us with his music. This is, I think, the third proper release. We did the album, the EP, and then this album. It's always awesome to work with FCC on this. The music's amazing, and if you do want to check it out, again, the link is in the chat. It will be in the description, show notes, wherever you're listening. I've put it here just to share it one more time. Definitely worth checking out. It's a really good album, awesome story, and if you have any questions for FCC, he is in our Discord, so you can put them over there in the ADSN or production process channel. But with that, I think we'll call it. Now, I'm going to give the end stream warning because I don't think Curtis has made that video yet. Yeah, no, he's been too busy dreaming about Vietnam. So he's got 5 weeks to do it. If it's not done by then, he's out.
Yeah. I'll top up. I'll top up Project Homebrew myself. Let's put it that way.
But yes, so that is our show. We're done now. I'm just letting it. I'm gonna let it run for a couple of seconds because if I don't and I hit end stream, Thomas is gonna comment saying that was an abrupt ending, and we don't want to make Thomas mad. He's such a good person, so that's why we're doing it. So we're killing time for a couple of seconds. I'm gonna let that. I think it's usually a 20-second or 30-second delay, so we're just gonna give it. Give it a little time. Let's see. What do we have? Oh, M Fizz popped in the chat. Hopefully this is in the part now that I say we're going to end it. But what's going on, M Fizz? Welcome. So with that, we'll see you in 5 weeks. And, well, you'll see us next week. But we'll see you all in 5 weeks.